First off, let's get into these Trump tariffs, okay? So, first, I want to talk about these tariffs and why most of you have this whole situation all wrong. It's amazing to me how ignorant ass people, or excuse me, how many ignorant ass people we have in this particular community who feel the need to speak up about certain issues without having any actual practical knowledge on why any of this stuff is going on in the first place. All right? But we're gonna take baby steps tonight. All right? We're gonna take baby steps. So first, what I'm gonna do is, I'm going to explain to you guys why there's a problem in the first place. All right, so we'll start with the national debt. Okay? What is the national debt? The national debt refers to the outstanding financial obligations of a specific country. In this case, we're talking about the United States of America. All right, so the national debt of the United States of America is basically what the government or the federal government owes to its creditors. Now, currently, our national debt is at about almost $37 trillion. All right? Now, this number is very scary for a variety of different reasons. All right, off the top, your tax dollars can't even put a dent into this figure. Why do I say that? Because our tax dollars only account for like $4.9 trillion, almost $5 trillion a year. And virtually none of that goes to paying any of this shit off. I think the last proposed budget in 2024 was almost $7 trillion. And in 2025, it's about 5.8, teetering on 6 trillion. So there, right there off the break, our budgets are higher than what we even bring in through taxes. Now, what I want to do next is show you guys the national debt from the past couple decades and exactly where it's catapulted into uncontrollable astronomical numbers. Okay, so let me get that up for you. I want to go through the national debt. I want to show you guys just what the problem is, right? We're going to get to the root of the problem on this show. All right, give me a second. All right, here we go. Boom. Hopefully you guys can see that. All right, so let's get into this. Let's get into this chart. All right. Now, let's start from 1988, right? We could go all the way back, but let's start fairly recently. We're going to start in 1988, and let me get a wider screen for you guys. Here you go. Hopefully you guys can see that clearly. We'll start at 1988, right? 1988, the national debt was at 2.6 trillion. 89, 2.8. 1990, 3.2. 1991, 3.6 trillion. And that was during a recession. 1992, 4 trillion. 1993, 4.4. 1994, 4.6, right? And you can see all throughout the 90s, it's consistent. It doesn't go up a crazy amount every year. All right, look, 99. But let's check out 2008. In 2008, right? During the bank bailouts and all that, right? The national debt was at $10 trillion, all right? Hopefully you guys can see that. It's at $10 trillion. Now let's look at the next 10 years and see where this national debt takes us, right? So from 2008 to 2018, right, we jumped from 2008, we jumped from 10 trillion to 21.5. So we jumped almost $12 trillion in in a 10-year span. But let's look at the previous 10 years. Let's go to 1998, right? It was 5.5 trillion. From 1998 to 2008, it only jumped $5 trillion. That's major. That's major. Okay? Now let's look at from 2019 to the present. In 2019, it was at 22 trillion. Now it's at 35 trillion, right? So now, in 2024, in a 5-year span, from 2019 to 2024, we've gone from 22 trillion to 35 trillion. Do you see the trajectory that we're on at this point? Do you guys see the trajectory we're on? This is crazy. This is crazy. This is insane. Now, here's the kicker. Right? Because right now, and let me say this, right now, we're at 37 point something trillion, almost $38 trillion for our national debt, right? That's where we're at right now. Now, here's the kicker. We also have to consider our GDP, which is our gross domestic product, or basically the total monetary or market value of all finished goods and services produced in our country's borders in about a year's time, okay? So we have to compare our GDP to our national debt, and that's called the GDP to debt ratio. So the GDP to debt ratio is measured in percentages. And usually that percentage is a pretty good indicator to what the fate of the nation's economy is. So according to the World Bank, right? Countries with a GDP to debt ratio of 77% or higher for a prolonged period of time will experience significant declines in economic growth. As of December, our ratio is at 124%. It's at 124%. And remember, 77% is the marker that tells you that you're headed towards the wrong direction. We're at 124. We're on our way to doubling that 77% in probably the next few years. Okay? We are literally running on fumes. We're literally running on fumes, and y'all wonder why Trump is doing the things he's doing. Yes, it sucks, but the federal government's gotta get cut. The federal government's gotta get cut at this point. As a country, we literally can't afford to operate the way that we're operating. So yes, I commend Trump for at least attempting to stop or at least halt the complete destruction of the United States of America. The tariffs are absolutely necessary as well. The tariffs are also absolutely necessary. And there are two main reasons why. Number one, American companies are getting screwed by most of the world because we are the most tariffed nation on earth. For the sake of our own GDP, we gotta tariff these countries because we gotta force them to the bargaining table. Which is why Trump is doing a good job. Already we got 50 countries, last time I checked, it could be more than that now. We got 50 countries that are willing to put an end to all US tariffs. Number two, when we put tariffs on places like China, for example, who tariff the living shit out of us, yes, prices will go up from Chinese companies, but this gives American companies the chance to thrive because at this point, China can't compete with you. See, what most of you idiots don't understand is that Trump is ushering in an opportunity economy, okay? He's trying to present us with an opportunity economy, meaning if you're willing to work hard and do good business, you can thrive because you won't have to compete with places like China. Hence, America first. But seriously, I mean, do you people understand that the US is responsible for 39% of the world's consumer base? And we are 25% of the world's GDP. So if we put a 100% tariff on Chinese goods, they suffer. Yeah, I mean, you might have to pay outrageous prices on cheap Chinese knockoffs. But do we really need that shit? We don't. At this point, all our money needs to be circulating on American soil. We literally can't afford to do it any other way. But hey, if you don't believe me, I'm gonna play this clip real quick from Mr. Shark Tank himself, Kevin O'Leary, on CNN the other day. This is what he had to say about it. All right, let's get to that video.
104% tariffs in China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China.
You hear that? He's saying, according to Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Shark Tank himself, he's saying that 104% tariffs aren't enough. Let's go.
They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it and sell it back here. Never has an administration.
400% tariffs? What would that look like?
I want Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. It's just not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people.
He's speaking facts. He is speaking facts. This is actually what they do. This is what they do. And real quick, if you're just now joining in, if you're on X, do me a favor, hit that heart button, hit that retweet button, okay? If you're on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that share button. Same thing if you're on Facebook. Hit that like button, hit that share button. Also, guys, don't forget, comment in the live chat below. Let's help get this video off into the algorithm. All right, let's get back to it. Let's go.
Brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Well, hold on a second. Well, I hear you, but hold on. If we're talking about people, the average consumer, not necessarily the head honchos of businesses all across the globe, can they withstand the pressure of that sort of tax on the goods?
It's short-lived. There will be
but what's your timeline compared to, you don't know the average American's timeline, what they can actually survive. There's people right now who can't survive
400% tomorrow morning, cheese on an airplane to Washington to cut a deal.
And I mean, perfectly stated. Perfectly stated. I mean, just like Kevin O'Leary said, we have all the cards when it comes to this issue, okay? We have all the cards. So, I mean, lastly on this topic, let me give you guys just a quick comparison, right? In 2018, I tore my Achilles, okay? It completely sucked. Completely. All right, after a few days though, and even a couple of weeks leading up to my surgery, I gotten used to walking around with a torn Achilles. However, and I say this, like, when I say I got used to it, like, I had to get around. I hadn't had my surgery yet, so I got kind of used to like the little wobble in my step and not stepping on the right side of my body a certain way to keep the pressure and pain off, right? So I got used to it, right? Which is kind of like how we've gotten used to debt in America. But anyway, let me continue, right? So, once I got my surgery, which also sucked, right? Even more. Then, after the surgery, I had to wear a cast for a few weeks. And then, after the cast, I had to wear a boot, all right? All of this shit completely sucked. But eventually, the cast came off, okay? Eventually, my Achilles gained its strength back, and now my right leg functions normally again, for the most part, okay? That's the same thing that Trump is trying to do with the current state of the American economy. It's torn. It needs surgery, a cast, a boot, in time to heal so that it gets better. Nothing gets fixed overnight, okay? So instead of crying and whining about the stock market, which 90% of you people don't even participate in, by the way, okay, and whining about the temporary inconvenience in the economy right now, you should instead be doing your research on the companies who are in the best positions to gain from Trump's policy. Okay, and you should also be looking into your major stocks and buying the goddamn dip while it's on sale for cheap. Okay, buy the dip. Buy the dip.